Part 1. The Village at the Edge of Everything. At the very edge of the map, where the paved road gave up and dissolved into dust, there was a small village named Daripura. It wasn't the kind of place people left stories about. No train stopped there, no tourists wandered through. The houses were made of cracked clay walls and rusted tin roofs that sang loudly when the rain fell. In summer, the earth split open from heat. In winter, the wind slipped through every gap like an uninvited guest. Most people were born there, worked there, and were buried there. And until he turned 18, Arjun believed that would be his story too. Every morning before sunrise, he helped his father in the fields. Their land was thin and stubborn, yielding just enough crops to survive, but never enough to breathe easy. His hands had hardened into calluses before he even understood what dreams were. His mother used to say, "Life is simple. Eat, work, sleep. Don't ask for too much." It wasn't advice, it was survival. But Arjun asked anyway. He asked questions that irritated people. Why does the city have lights all night? Why do some people travel in cars while we walk miles? Why do some children study in big schools while ours closes when the teacher doesn't show up? The elders would shake their heads. "Too much thinking is dangerous," they'd say. "Accept what you have." Still, at night, he would lie on the roof of their house and stare at the stars. The sky in Daripura was wide and endless, untouched by pollution. It made the world feel enormous, too enormous to stay small in. One evening, a bus broke down near the village. It was an old, coughing thing headed to the city. While the driver argued with the engine, the passengers stepped out to stretch their legs. Arjun had never seen city people this close before. Their clothes were clean, their shoes matched. They held glowing rectangles in their hands, phones, laughing, scrolling, talking about things he didn't understand. One man sat under a tree with a laptop open, typing quickly. The screen shone like magic. Arjun stood nearby, pretending to sweep dust, but his eyes never left that machine. "What is that?" he asked. The man looked up. "A laptop." "What does it do?" The man smiled. "It lets me work from anywhere. I run a business." "From here?" "From anywhere," he repeated. The words hit Arjun harder than anything he had ever heard. From anywhere. Not from a city office, not from rich parents. Anywhere. The bus got fixed, the passengers left, the dust settled. But something inside Arjun didn't. That night, he didn't sleep. For the first time, the village didn't feel like the whole world. It felt like a starting point. And somewhere beyond those dark roads and distant lights, a different life was waiting. He didn't know how he would reach it. He didn't know what it would cost. But for the first time in Arjun's life, Arjun made a quiet promise to himself while staring at the stars. "I will not die in this village without trying." And that small promise, fragile, almost foolish, was the first step towards a future no one in Daripura could have imagined. Part 2. The Price of a Dream. The morning after the broken bus left Daripura, nothing looked different. The same roosters crowed, the same smoke rose from clay stoves, the same tired faces walked toward the fields. But for Arjun, the world had quietly tilted. Every sound seemed sharper, every chore felt heavier. It was as if the village had shrunk overnight. He kept seeing the glow of that laptop screen in his mind. From anywhere. The words wouldn't leave him alone. While cutting wheat with his father, he asked, "Baba, have you ever thought about leaving?" His father didn't look up. "Leaving what?" "The village. Going somewhere bigger. Trying something else?" The sickle stopped mid-swing. "For what?" his father said. "People like us don't try things. We work." "But what if there's more?" His father wiped sweat from his forehead and finally met his eyes. "Hope is expensive, Arjun. Poor people can't afford too much of it." The sentence landed like a stone. Hope is expensive. That evening, Arjun walked to the only place in the village with books, a tiny government school that smelled of chalk and damp wood. The teacher, Mr. Iyer, was packing his bag. "Sir," Arjun said nervously, "how do people learn about business, about computers?" Mr. Iyer raised an eyebrow. "Big questions for a farmer's son." "I just want to know." The teacher studied him for a long moment, then unlocked a rusty cabinet and pulled out an old, thick book. Introduction to Computers. The cover was torn, half the pages were folded, but to Arjun it looked like treasure. "You won't understand everything, but start somewhere." Arjun took it like it was gold. From that day, his routine changed. Wake at 5, fieldwork till noon, carry water, feed goats, help mother cook, then study under the single flickering bulb until midnight. Most nights, electricity died halfway through, so he memorized diagrams by lantern light. He learned strange words: hardware, software, internet, coding. They sounded like spells. The villagers laughed when they saw him reading. "Planning to become a minister," one joked. "Books won't grow crops," another said. Even his mother worried. "You'll fall sick, sleep." But something burned inside him now, something stronger than exhaustion. Still, reality hit hard one afternoon. He asked Mr. Iyer, "Sir, where can I use a computer?" The teacher hesitated. "There's one in the town cyber cafe, 15 kilometers away." "How much?" 30 rupees an hour. 30 rupees. For many, it was nothing. For Arjun, it was 2 days of food. He walked home slowly that evening, doing math in his head. If he skipped tea, if he sold the old metal scraps, if he worked extra hours carrying sacks for the shopkeeper, maybe 1 hour a week, 1 hour to touch the future. That night, he opened an old tin box and counted his savings. Coins clinked softly. 11 rupees. Not enough. But instead of feeling defeated, he smiled. For the first time, the dream had a number: 30 rupees. It wasn't impossible. It just had a price. And Arjun had decided something important. If hope was expensive, he would pay it anyway. Part 3. 30 rupees an hour. The next week, Arjun began chasing money the way other boys chased cricket balls. Not big money, not dreams of riches, just coins. 30 rupees. That was all he needed. It sounded small when spoken aloud, but in Daripura, 30 rupees meant cooking oil for 3 days, or medicine for a cough that wouldn't leave. It wasn't something you spent on curiosity. Still, every morning Arjun woke with a strange excitement. He had a target. After finishing work in the fields, he started hauling grain sacks for the shopkeeper. 10 rupees. He collected scrap metal near the river and sold it. 6 rupees. He helped an old man repair fences. 4 rupees. His muscles screamed at night, but his tin box slowly filled. Clink, clink, clink. Each coin felt like a step forward. The villagers noticed. "You're working like you're feeding 10 families," someone joked. "Saving for a wedding already?" another laughed. Arjun just smiled. Explaining dreams felt useless. After 9 days, he counted again. 32 rupees. His heart pounded like he'd won the lottery. The next morning before sunrise, he told his mother, "I'm going to town." "For what?" "To learn something." She looked confused but packed him 2 dry rotis anyway. Be back before dark. The walk to town took nearly 4 hours. Dust rose around his sandals, trucks thundered past, covering him in smoke, but he barely noticed. His mind kept repeating, "Today." When he finally reached the cyber cafe, it looked nothing like the future he'd imagined. It was a narrow shop squeezed between a pharmacy and a tire repair stall. A faded sign read, "Internet, print, scan." Inside, 6 bulky computers hummed loudly. The air smelled of sweat and hot wires. A teenage boy behind the counter chewed gum. "Time?" he asked lazily. 1 hour, Arjun said, placing the money carefully on the table. The boy counted it twice. Computer 3. Arjun sat down slowly. The chair wobbled. The monitor flickered, but when the screen lit up, his breath caught. It felt like staring into another universe. So many icons, so many windows. He didn't know where to start. His hands trembled as he touched the mouse for the first time. Click. Something opened. Click. Something closed. He felt stupid. Everyone else typed fast, like they were born knowing this language. He almost gave up. Then he remembered Mr. Ayer's words. Start somewhere. He opened the browser and slowly typed, "What is computer programming?" Letters appeared one by one. The page loaded, and suddenly, knowledge exploded in front of him. Articles, videos, free lessons, entire worlds of information. Free. All of it free. No teacher, no permission, no boundaries. Just learning. His heart raced. For the next hour, he forgot everything else. Hunger, heat, fear. He read about coding, websites, online jobs, people working from villages, earning money through laptops. People like him. Maybe. Every few minutes, he whispered, "This is possible. This is possible." When the timer beeped, he jumped. "Time's up," the boy said. It felt cruel, like being pulled out of a dream. But as Arjun stepped outside into the noisy street, something had changed. The world didn't look closed anymore. It looked open, huge, reachable. He had touched it. Just for 1 hour, but that hour planted something permanent. Walking back home under the orange sunset, feet aching, he made another promise to himself. One day, I won't pay for an hour. One day, I'll own the machine. And someday after that, I'll build something with it. He didn't know what yet, but for the first time, the future didn't feel like fantasy. It felt like a direction, and he had just taken his first real step towards it. Part 4. The Long Walks. After that first hour at the cyber cafe, Arjun couldn't return to his old life the same way. The fields felt slower. The days felt heavier. It wasn't that he hated the work. It was honest work, the kind his father had done his whole life. But now, every swing of the sickle felt like time slipping through his fingers. Because somewhere, 15 kilometers away, there was a computer waiting, and knowledge waiting with it. So he made a new routine. Twice a week, he would walk to town. No bus, no bicycle, just his feet. If he left before sunrise, he could reach by 10, study for 1 hour, and return by night. 8 hours of walking, 1 hour of learning. Anyone else would call it madness. To Arjun, it was an investment. The first few trips were brutal. Blisters formed on his heels. His throat dried out by noon. Once, rain soaked him halfway there, and he almost turned back. But every time he thought of quitting, he remembered the glowing screen. From anywhere. The cafe boys started recognizing him. "Again?" he smirked one day. "You really like the internet, huh?" Arjun nodded. "Yes. Most people come to watch movies. I come to learn." The boy laughed. Weird. Maybe he was weird, but during those precious hours, Arjun discovered things that felt like secrets. He learned how websites were built. He watched free tutorials about HTML and CSS. He copied code into a small notebook because he couldn't afford extra time to practice online. At night, back home, he rewrote the code by lantern light, memorizing it like poetry. Body, H1, hello world, body. He didn't fully understand it yet, but it felt powerful, like learning the alphabet of a new universe. One evening, Mr. Ayer noticed the notebook filled with strange symbols. "You wrote all this by hand?" he asked. "Yes, sir, so I don't forget." The teacher shook his head in disbelief. "Most students won't even copy homework, and you're copying code from memory." Arjun smiled. "It's the only way I can practice." Mr. Ayer grew quiet. The next day, he called Arjun after school. "I have something for you." From his bag, he pulled out an old second-hand keyboard. 2 keys were missing. The wire was taped. The computer lab threw it away. "It doesn't work, but you can at least practice typing." Arjun held it like a treasure. That night, his family watched in confusion as he placed the broken keyboard on the floor and pretended to type on an imaginary screen. Tap, tap, tap. His little sister giggled. "Baya, it's not even connected." "I know," he said, smiling, "but one day it will be." He practiced every day, typing air, memorizing keys, dreaming. Weeks passed, then months. Slowly, something unexpected happened. The long walks didn't feel long anymore because his mind was always racing ahead, planning, imagining, building futures no one else could see. And for the first time in his life, exhaustion felt good because it meant he was moving, not stuck, moving, towards something bigger than Dadipuda, toward a life no one around him understood yet. But deep inside, Arjun felt certain of one thing. He wasn't just learning computers, he was learning escape. Part 5. The First Failure. By the time the monsoon clouds began gathering over Dadipuda, Arjun had walked to town 23 times. 23 hours in front of a computer. 23 hours that felt more valuable than all his years in school. He had memorized basic HTML, learned simple CSS, even watched videos about something called freelancing, people doing small jobs online and getting paid. Paid through the internet. The idea sounded unreal. Money without fields, work without land, income without leaving home. It felt like discovering fire. One afternoon at the cyber cafe, he stumbled onto a website where people posted tasks: design a logo, build a web page, write something, fix code. And next to each task, $5, $10, $25. Dollars. He quickly calculated in his head. $10 was almost 800 rupees. 800! Nearly a month of groceries for one job. His heart hammered so loudly he thought others could hear it. This is it. He didn't need a rich uncle. He didn't need a city office. He just needed skill. Hands shaking, he created an account. Username: Arjun Builds. It sounded professional, capable, confident. Nothing like the nervous boy sitting in a plastic chair. He spent the entire hour writing proposals for small jobs. "I can build simple website. I work hard. Please give chance." His English wasn't perfect. His sentences were broken. But his hope wasn't. Before logging out, he checked his balance at the counter. "Time over," the cafe boy said. Arjun stepped outside feeling 10 feet tall. This was it. Soon he would earn. Soon he would buy his own computer. Soon everything would change. For the next 3 days, he could barely focus on anything else. While cutting crops, he imagined email notifications. While eating, he pictured dollar signs. While sleeping, he dreamed of screens lighting up with messages. "You're hired." On the 4th day, he walked to town again, almost running. He logged in. 0 messages. 0 responses. 0 views. He refreshed. Nothing. He told himself, maybe they're busy. Next week, same result. The week after, still nothing. He read other freelancers' profiles. Their English was better. Their portfolios were bigger. They had reviews. He had nothing. Just desperation. For the first time, doubt crept in. Maybe the villagers were right. Maybe this wasn't for people like him. Maybe he was pretending to be something he wasn't. That day, as he walked back home under a burning sun, each step felt heavier than ever before. All those hours, all that effort, for nothing. When he reached the fields, his father handed him a sickle. "Dreams finished?" he asked quietly. Arjun didn't answer. He worked until his palms stung. That night, he opened his notebook and stared at the code he had copied so carefully. It suddenly looked childish, useless. For a moment, he considered throwing it into the fire. Maybe life really was simple. Eat, work, sleep. No questions, no disappointment. But as the flames in the stove flickered, he remembered something he had read online. Every expert was once a beginner. Slowly, he closed the notebook instead. Failure hurt, but quitting felt worse. If the world wouldn't give him a chance, he would have to become too good to ignore. And that decision, made quietly in the dark, would change everything. Part 6. Becoming Too Good to Ignore. Failure stayed with Arjun like a shadow. For days, it followed him into the fields, into meals, into sleep. 0 responses. 0 worth. Every time he remembered the empty inbox, his chest tightened. But something else grew alongside the disappointment. Stubbornness. If no one hired him, maybe it wasn't because the world was unfair. Maybe he just wasn't good enough. Yet. The word felt important. Not good enough. Not good enough yet. So instead of writing more desperate proposals, Arjun made a new rule. No more applying. Only learning. If he wanted someone to trust him with work, he needed proof, skills, something undeniable. At the next cafe visit, he didn't open the job website. Instead, he searched how to build a real website from scratch. Hours of tutorials appeared. He watched carefully, pausing every few seconds to copy code into his notebook. Headers, buttons, images, layouts. He didn't just memorize this time. He tried to understand. Why this tag? Why this color? Why this structure? For the first time, the code stopped looking like magic and started looking like logic, like building a house brick by brick. At home, he used the broken keyboard to type imaginary programs on the floor, whispering, "Open tag, close tag." His sister laughed less now. She just watched, curious. Weeks passed. Then one day, Mr. Iyer called him again after school. "I spoke to a friend in town," the teacher said. "He runs a photocopy shop. They have an old computer, very slow, nobody uses it much." Arjun held his breath. You can practice there, maybe evenings, but don't break it. For a second, he couldn't speak. A real computer. More than 1 hour. More than twice a week. "Thank you, sir," he finally whispered. That evening, he ran all the way to town. The computer was ancient, yellow keys, no internet half the time, but it worked, and that was enough. For the first time, Arjun actually typed his code into a machine. When he saved his first file, index.html, his heart raced. He opened it. A blank white page appeared with big black letters, "Hello, World." It was simple, ugly, but it was his. He had created something from nothing. He stared at the screen for a long time, smiling like a child. "Why are you grinning at that?" the shop owner asked. "I made this," Arjun said. The man squinted. "It's just text." To him, maybe. To Arjun, it was proof. Proof that he could build. Proof that he wasn't trapped. Proof that his future didn't have to look like his past. From that day on, every evening after fieldwork, he went straight to the shop and practiced. He built fake websites for a tea stall, for a barber, for a pretend company. Bad designs, broken layouts, lots of mistakes, but each one better than the last. Slowly, quietly, without anyone noticing, Arjun stopped being a boy with a dream. He started becoming a boy with skill. And skill, he was beginning to understand, was louder than hope. Hope could be ignored. Skill couldn't. Part 7. The First Yes. By the end of the year, Arjun's evenings no longer belonged to the village. While others gathered near the tea stall to gossip or play cards, he slipped away toward the town like a man with a secret. The photocopy shop became his classroom. The old computer became his teacher. The shop owner, Mr. Salim, eventually stopped watching him suspiciously and started shaking his head with quiet amusement. "You're still here," Salim would say at closing time. "Just 10 more minutes," Arjun would reply. It was always 10 more minutes. Those minutes turned into hours of practice. He rebuilt the same websites again and again. A grocery store page, a mechanic shop page, a school page. He experimented with colors, fonts, layouts. Sometimes everything broke and the screen turned into chaos. He'd grown, then start over. But each failure felt different now. Before, failure meant stop. Now it meant learn. One evening, while waiting for a file to save, Arjun noticed something across the street. A small tailoring shop. Its signboard was faded, the paint peeling, half the letters missing. RA-FASH-NS. Inside, an old man stitched clothes under a dim light. Customers rarely stopped. Most people went to the bigger store near the bus stand. Arjun watched for a while. Then an idea hit him. A simple one. The next day, he walked into the shop. The tailor looked up. Yes? Uncle, do you have a website? A what? A page on the internet so people can find your shop. The man laughed. Son, I can barely use a phone. Why would I need the internet? Arjun swallowed. His heart pounded harder than it ever had at the cafe. I can make one for you, free. Free, the tailor squinted. Why? I'm learning. I just need practice. The man shrugged. Do whatever you want, but don't waste my time. That night, Arjun worked like never before. He added the shop name, photos of shirts, a price list, a phone number, even a small map. It wasn't perfect, but it was real, not a pretend project. A real business, a real person. When he showed it to Mr. Salim the next day, the shop owner blinked. You made this? Yes. For free? Yes. Salim leaned back. You know, my cousin runs a mobile repair shop. He's always complaining about customers. Maybe he needs one too. Arjun felt something spark inside. Really? I'll talk to him. 2 days later, Salim's cousin came, then a stationery shop owner, then a small bakery. Nothing fancy, nothing complicated, but real. Real people, real websites. And suddenly, Arjun wasn't just practicing anymore. He was solving problems. One evening, the tailor pressed something in his hand. A folded note. What's this? Arjun asked. Take it, the man said gruffly. You helped me. More customers came this week. My nephew said he found me on Google or something. Arjun opened the note. 500 rupees. He froze. I said free, and I said take it, the tailor snapped. Don't argue with elders. Walking home that night, the money felt heavier than anything he'd ever carried. It wasn't just cash, it was proof. Proof that his skill had value. Proof that someone would pay him for his mind, not just his muscles. Proof that this path might actually work. When he reached home, he didn't spend it, he didn't celebrate. He placed the notes carefully into the tin box, next to the old coins. And for the first time, the box didn't look like savings. It looked like the beginning of something bigger. Because after months of silence, rejection, and doubt, the world had finally said one small, beautiful word. Yes. Part 8. The Machine of His Own. Money changed nothing. And everything. The next morning, Dadiputa looked the same. Same cracked walls, same dusty roads, same sleepy buffalo tied near the wells. But Arjun walked differently. Not proud, not loud, just certain. The 500 rupees in his tin box weren't life-changing, but they were something he had never owned before. Money earned with his mind, not his back, not his sweat, his mind. It felt like discovering a hidden muscle. And once discovered, he wanted to use it more. Within a month, he built 4 more websites for small shops. Word spread slowly. The farmer's son knows computers. He makes pages on the internet. He works cheap. The last one made him laugh. Cheap compared to whom? Still, he didn't argue. Every job meant practice. Practice meant skill. Skill meant freedom. He saved every rupee. No tea at the stall, no new clothes for the festival, no sweets. His friends teased him. You're becoming a miser. Planning to buy the village? He just smiled. They didn't see what he saw. Every coin wasn't money. It was a piece of a future machine. A computer of his own. Part 9. Nights without sleep. The first night Arjun brought the computer home, he didn't sleep. Not even for a minute. The rest of the house fell quiet after dinner. His father's snores rose and fell like distant thunder. Crickets chirped outside. The village lights flickered out one by one. But inside their small house, one pale blue glow stayed alive. His glow. Arjun sat cross-legged on the floor in front of the wooden table, staring at the screen like it might disappear if he blinked. He gently moved the mouse. The cursor obeyed. He opened folders, created files, typed freely. No timer, no cafe boy shouting "time's up," no walking back in the dark. Just endless time. He felt rich in a way no one around him could understand. That night, he rebuilt every project he had ever made, faster than before, cleaner, smarter. Mistakes that once took days to fix now took minutes. He installed free software he had only read about, browsers, editors, design tools. It felt like unlocking superpowers. By midnight, his eyes burned. By 2 a.m., his back ached. By 4 a.m., birds started chirping. He didn't care. For the first time in his life, exhaustion came from excitement, not survival. From that day on, Arjun lived two lives. Daytime, farmer. Nighttime, builder. He worked the fields until sunset, ate quickly, then rushed home. Click, whir, glow, and the world opened. He began learning faster than ever. JavaScript, responsive design, how websites moved and reacted. He watched lectures while eating, practiced while others slept. Sometimes he accidentally fell asleep on the keyboard, waking up with letters printed across his cheek. His mother worried. "You'll make yourself sick." "I'm okay," he said. But even he knew this wasn't normal. It was obsession, and he welcomed it, because something had changed. Before, he was chasing opportunity. Now, opportunity was chasing him. One of the shopkeepers he built a site for referred him to a bigger client in town, a small coaching center. "Can you make something more professional?" they asked. "Online forms, student lists, photos." Arjun nodded, even though he had never done half of it. "I can." Then he went home and learned how. 3 nights, almost no sleep, tutorials stacked like mountains. When he delivered the website, the owner stared at the screen. "This looks like city work," he said. Then he paid Arjun 6,000 rupees, 6,000, for one project. Arjun held the money in shock. It was more than his father sometimes made in months of farming. On the walk home, a strange feeling crept in. Not pride, responsibility. If he could earn like this, if he could build things like this, then maybe his life wasn't just about escaping anymore. Maybe it was about changing what was possible. For himself, for his family, maybe even for the village. That night, as the computer hummed softly in the darkness, Arjun opened his old tin box again. It was overflowing now, but instead of counting the money, he opened a blank document and typed something new. A list. Goals. Get better internet. Learn advanced coding. Work with bigger clients. Earn 1 lakh. Help parents stop fieldwork. His hands paused. Then he added one more line. One day, teach others like me. He stared at that sentence for a long time. He didn't know why he wrote it, but it felt important, because he remembered exactly how lonely the beginning had been, and if he ever made it out, he didn't want to be the only one. Outside, the village slept peacefully. Inside, Arjun kept working. While others dreamed in their sleep, he was building his with open eyes. Part 10. The City Calls. Success didn't arrive like a celebration. It arrived quietly, like a slow leak turning into a river. More referrals came. A pharmacy needed a website. Then a small hotel near the bus stand. Then a local politician who wanted an online presence, though he barely understood what that meant. Each project paid a little more than the last. 2,000, 5,000, 8,000. For the first time in his life, Arjun stopped counting coins and started counting notes in stacks. His father noticed. One evening after dinner, he said, "You earn more from that machine than we do from the land." It wasn't jealousy, it was disbelief. Arjun nodded. "I think I can earn even more." His father studied him carefully. "In the city?" The word hung heavy between them. The city. For generations, it meant only 2 things, factory jobs or construction labor. People left strong and came back tired, or didn't come back at all. But this was different. Arjun didn't need muscles. He needed internet, better clients, bigger opportunities, things the Reapera couldn't give him. "I might have to go," Arjun said quietly. His mother stopped rolling dough. "Go where?" "To the city, just for some time, to learn more, to grow." Silence filled the room. The fan creaked overhead. Finally, his father sighed. "When you were small, you used to chase kites past the fields," he said. "We kept shouting, 'Don't go too far.'" He looked up. "You never listened." Arjun nodded nervously. His father continued, "Maybe you were never meant to stay." It wasn't permission exactly, but it was close. A week later, something unexpected happened. The coaching center owner called him. "My cousin runs a startup in the city," he said. "They need someone who knows websites. I showed them your work." Startup. The word sounded modern, fast, important. "They want to meet you," the man said, "in person." Arjun's pulse quickened. When? Monday. 4 days away. He had never traveled farther than the nearby town alone. The city was 3 hours by bus. Crowded, loud, unknown, exciting, terrifying. That night, he couldn't focus on coding. Instead, he imagined tall buildings, glass offices, people typing quickly on laptops like the man he'd seen years ago when the bus broke down. Was this how it started? Was this the doorway? Or just another rejection waiting to happen? Doubt whispered again. What if they laugh at your English? What if you're not good enough? What if you don't belong there? But another voice answered back, stronger now. You built all this from nothing. You walked miles to learn. You taught yourself everything. You belong anywhere you choose to stand. On Sunday night, he packed a small bag. 2 shirts, 1 notebook, a pen, his USB drive with all his projects, and the old broken keyboard key he'd kept as a reminder of where he started. Before sleeping, he stepped outside and looked at the stars over the Ripura, the same stars he used to stare at as a boy, wondering if life could be bigger. Now the question had changed. Not if, but how far. Tomorrow he would leave the village not as a laborer, not as someone escaping, but as someone carrying skill, value, possibility. And as the night breeze moved softly through the fields, Arjun realized something. The world hadn't come to rescue him. He had built his own way out, and the city was waiting. Part 11. The World Beyond the Fields. The bus to the city arrived before sunrise, coughing black smoke into the cold morning air. Arjun stood at the roadside with his small bag slung over one shoulder. His mother pressed 2 wrapped rotis into his hand. "Eat on the way." His sister hugged him tight. "Bring me chocolate." His father didn't say much. He just placed a rough, calloused hand on Arjun's shoulder and squeezed. It was the kind of grip that said everything words couldn't. Make it worth it. The bus doors creaked open. For a moment, Arjun froze. Daripura lay quiet behind him, the fields, the mud houses, the narrow paths he had walked his entire life. Safe, small, known. The city ahead was none of those things. But dreams didn't live in safe places. So he stepped forward and climbed in. The journey felt unreal. The landscape slowly changed. Fields turned into factories. Factories turned into buildings. Buildings turned into towers of glass and concrete that scraped the sky. Traffic roared like an angry ocean. People everywhere. Walking fast, talking fast, living fast. No one looked at anyone else. No one cared who he was. For the first time in his life, Arjun felt invisible and, strangely, free. The address the coaching center owner had given him led to a narrow street filled with small offices stacked on top of each other. Not the giant skyscraper he had imagined, just an old building with a peeling sign. Bright Path Solutions, 3rd floor. He climbed the stairs slowly, heart pounding louder with each step. 3rd floor, a glass door. Inside, 6 young people sat around laptops, whiteboards covered in diagrams, coffee cups everywhere. It smelled like electricity and ambition. A man in his late 20s looked up. "You're Arjun?" "Yes, sir." "Relax," the man laughed. "I'm not a principal." He extended his hand. "I'm Karan." Arjun shook it awkwardly, wiping his palm on his shirt first. "We saw your work," Karan said. "You built those local business sites?" "Yes." "Self-taught?" "Yes." Karan whistled softly. "Impressive." That one word sent warmth through Arjun's chest. They asked him questions. How do you design layouts? How would you fix slow loading? Can you build forms? Can you learn new tools quickly? Every time he didn't know something, he said honestly, I haven't done that yet, but I can learn. Not once did he pretend. Not once did he lie. Finally, Karan closed the laptop. We're building websites for small companies across the country, he said. We need someone hardworking, not fancy, just someone who gets things done. He looked straight at Arjun. You remind me of me. Silence. Then, we can't pay much at first, but if you join us, you'll learn fast. Interested? Arjun's mind went blank. This was it. Not freelancing scraps, not 1-hour cafe sessions. A real team, real projects, real growth. How much salary? He asked softly. Karan named a number. Arjun nearly stopped breathing. It was more money than his family earned in an entire year. For a moment, he thought he misheard. So, Karan smiled. What do you say? Images flashed through his mind. His father bending in the fields, his mother saving every rupee, his long walks to the cafe, the broken keyboard, the first hello world. All of it leading here. I'll do it, he said. His voice shook, but his decision didn't. As he stepped out of the office later, offer letter in hand, the city no longer looked scary. It looked like opportunity, because the boy from the village who once paid 30 rupees for an hour had just been invited to build the future full-time. And this time, the door wasn't closing. It was opening. Wide. Part 12. Learning to Run. Arjun moved to the city the following week with one suitcase, his old notebook of handwritten code, and more determination than fear. Karan helped him find a shared room near the office, a tiny space on the terrace of an old building. One bed, one fan, one window that looked out over a mess of tangled electric wires. It was loud at night. Horns, dogs barking, distant traffic that never seemed to sleep. Nothing like Darapura's quiet skies. The first night, Arjun lay awake, staring at the ceiling. He missed the stars. But when he checked his phone and saw the office group chat buzzing with project messages at midnight, he realized something. Here, dreams didn't sleep either. The next morning, reality hit hard. The office wasn't like his slow evenings at the photocopy shop. It was chaos. Arjun, can you fix this layout? Client wants changes now. Site crashed, check server. Deadline today. People spoke fast, typed faster. English everywhere. Technical words he had never heard. Frameworks, APIs, deployments, repositories. For the first time in years, he felt behind again, like that first day in the cyber cafe. Lost, stupid, slow. During his first task, he accidentally broke an entire page. The design collapsed. Buttons disappeared. I think I messed up, he admitted. Instead of scolding him, Karan rolled his chair over. Good, he said. Good? You broke it. That means you're trying. Now we fix it. He showed Arjun how to debug properly, how to read errors, how to think like a problem solver, not a guesser. It was a different level, not just copying tutorials, understanding systems, thinking deeper. Every day felt like drinking from a fire hose. He carried a small notebook again, scribbling constantly, new commands, new shortcuts, new ideas. At lunch, others scrolled social media. Arjun watched coding videos. At night, others rested. Arjun practiced. Old habits didn't leave him. They evolved. Within a month, something shifted. Tasks that once took him hours now took minutes. He stopped asking basic questions, started answering them. One evening, a teammate groaned, "Why is this form validation not working?" Before he could think, Arjun leaned over and fixed it. 30 seconds, done. The teammate blinked. "How did you do that so fast?" Arjun shrugged. He didn't mention the years of practicing on a broken keyboard, or the nights rewriting code by lantern light, or the hundreds of tiny failures no one had seen. Speed wasn't talent. It was scars. By the third month, Karan called him into a meeting. "We're increasing your salary," he said casually, "and we want you handling small clients directly now." Arjun stared. "Already?" "You learn faster than anyone I've seen," Karan added. Where did you study? Arjun smiled. Fields, he said. Karan laughed, thinking it was a joke, but Arjun meant it. The fields had taught him discipline, hunger, patience. The city just gave him tools. That night, he sent his first large money transfer home. When his father called, his voice sounded different, softer. You sent too much, he said. It's okay, Arjun replied. We repaired the roof and paid the loan. Silence. Then his father whispered, because of you, we didn't borrow this season. Arjun sat on his small terrace, phone in hand, city lights flickering below. For years, he had chased success to escape poverty, but now he realized something deeper. Success wasn't just about leaving, it was about lifting others with you. And for the first time, he felt it clearly. He wasn't running anymore. He was climbing. Fast. Part 13. The Breakthrough. By the end of his first year in the city, Arjun was no longer the new guy. He was the one people called when things broke. Ask Arjun, he'll fix it. Give it to Arjun, he's fast. Arjun will figure it out. Each time someone said his name like that, a quiet warmth spread through him. Not pride, proof. Proof that he belonged here. His days blurred into long stretches of code and coffee. Websites, dashboards, payment systems, bugs that appeared at midnight and disappeared at sunrise. The startup grew quickly. 6 people became 10. 10 became 20. Bigger clients arrived. Bigger expectations, too. One Monday morning, Karan gathered everyone. We've got something huge, he said, eyes shining. A national education company. If we land this project, it changes everything. Everyone leaned forward. They want a full platform, student logins, videos, tests, thousands of users. It sounded massive, complicated, risky. We have 2 weeks to show a working demo, Karan continued. If we mess up, they walk. The room went quiet. Then he looked at Arjun. I want you leading the development. For a second, Arjun thought he misheard. Me? Yeah, Karan said simply. You're the most reliable one here. Reliable. The word scared him more than talented ever could. Talent could fail. Reliable couldn't. For 2 weeks, Arjun barely went home. He practically lived in the office. Whiteboards covered with diagrams, flowcharts everywhere, database structures, user flows. He broke the giant problem into small pieces, just like he used to break code into tiny tags. One step at a time. Login first, then dashboard, then video player, then tests, brick by brick, like building a house. Some nights at 3 a.m., exhaustion hit hard. He'd stare at the screen, vision blurry, fingers stiff, and memories would flash, walking 15 kilometers to the cafe, typing on a broken keyboard, copying code by lantern light. If he survived that, he could survive this. So he kept going. The team followed his rhythm, focused, calm, no drama. When something failed, he didn't panic. He just said, okay, let's fix it. It became contagious. On demo day, the entire team stood behind one laptop. The client joined the video call. Show us, they said. Arjun shared his screen. Clicked login. Worked. Opened dashboard. Smooth. Played video. Clear. Took a test. Results calculated instantly. No crashes, no delays, no errors. Silence. The longest 30 seconds of his life. Then the client smiled. This is exactly what we wanted, they said. Let's move forward. The call ended. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then the office exploded. Cheers, claps, someone blasted music. Karan hugged him hard. You did it! No, Arjun said, laughing. We did. But deep inside, he knew something had shifted forever. That project brought in more money than all their previous work combined. Investors noticed. New contracts poured in. And a month later, Karan called him into the cabin again. We're giving you equity, he said. You're not just an employee anymore. You're part owner. Part owner. Arjun sat down slowly. A farmer's son, now owning a piece of a tech company. It sounded impossible, like someone else's story. Yet here he was, signing papers with trembling hands. That night he walked alone through the city streets, lights reflecting off wet roads after a small rain. For the first time, he didn't feel like he was chasing success. Success had caught up to him. But as he watched people sleeping on sidewalks and laborers carrying bricks under dim lights, a strange thought tugged at him. He remembered Daripura, the boy still there, still thinking life was small, still believing 30 rupees was too much to dream. And suddenly, the money, the promotions, the ownership, they didn't feel like the finish line. They felt like the beginning of a responsibility, because he had made it out. Now the question was, how many others could he pull up with him? Part 14. Remembering the Road Back. The first time Arjun saw 7 digits in his bank account, he didn't celebrate. He just stared at the screen for a long time. 10,23,450 rupees. 10 lakh. More money than his family had seen in generations. For a few seconds, he expected fireworks, music, some magical feeling of victory. Instead, there was only silence. Then a strange memory surfaced. 30 rupees. That first hour at the cybercafe. How impossible it had felt. He laughed softly. Life was strange. Once 30 rupees had stopped him. Now 10 lakh didn't even feel real. The startup kept growing. Their education platform spread across the country. Thousands of students logged in every day. Investors poured in more funds. With each round, Arjun's small piece of ownership grew more valuable. One evening, Karan grinned at him and said, "Congratulations, partner. On paper, you're basically a millionaire now." Millionaire. The word sounded foreign, too big, too shiny. He still wore the same simple shirts, still packed lunch, still saved money like the boy with the tin box. But something inside him had changed. Not his lifestyle, his perspective. He could buy things now, but he didn't want things. He wanted impact. That thought grew stronger the day he visited Daripura after almost 2 years. The bus dropped him at the same dusty road, same broken signboard, same sleepy silence. It felt like time had stopped. Kids still played with old tires. Farmers still bent under the sun. The school walls were even more cracked. It was like his success had happened in another universe. His mother cried when she saw him. His sister refused to let go of his arm. His father tried to act normal, but Arjun noticed the pride in his eyes when neighbors came to greet him. "This is my son," his father kept saying casually. But Arjun heard what he didn't say. He did something we couldn't. That evening, he walked around the village alone, past the well, past the fields, past the roof where he used to stare at stars. Nothing had changed, and that hurt more than he expected, because he had changed so much. He stopped near the school. Children sat on the floor, sharing 2 torn textbooks. One computer in the corner, broken, dust-covered, unusable. It hit him like a punch. If he had been born just a little less stubborn, a little less lucky, he would still be here, still believing life was small, still afraid to dream. And how many other Arjuns are sitting in this very room right now, never even knowing what was possible? That night, he couldn't sleep. Not because of excitement, because of responsibility. All his life, he had focused on escaping. Now he saw something clearly. Escaping alone wasn't enough. If success ended with just him, it was selfish. The next morning, he visited Mr. Iyer, his old teacher. The man looked older now, more gray hair, same kind eyes. "You made it," the teacher said proudly. "Because you gave me that first book," Arjun replied. They talked for hours, about the village, about students dropping out, about how nobody taught computers seriously. Finally, Arjun asked quietly, "Sir, what if we change that?" Mr. Iyer frowned. "Change what?" "Everything." The word hung in the air. For the first time since becoming successful, Arjun felt the same fire he had felt years ago, the same hunger, the same impossible dream energy. But this time, it wasn't about building a life for himself. It was about building ladders for others. And deep inside, he knew This next chapter would be bigger than money, bigger than startups, bigger than becoming a millionaire. Because now, he was going back for the people still at the starting line. Part 15. The Ladder. The next morning, Arjun stood in front of the village school with the same nervous energy he'd felt years ago outside the cyber cafe. Except this time, he wasn't the boy asking for a chance. He was the one giving it. The building looked smaller than he remembered. Cracked walls, faded paint, windows that barely closed. But inside those walls sat dozens of children who looked exactly like he once had. Dusty slippers, curious eyes, quiet dreams they didn't dare speak out loud. He watched them for a while. A boy tracing letters carefully in the dirt. A girl fixing a broken pencil with thread. Potential everywhere. Opportunity nowhere. That used to be him. Mr. Iyer joined him outside. "So," the teacher asked gently, "what exactly are you planning?" Arjun smiled. "Do you remember the first computer book you gave me?" "Of course." "That book changed my life," Arjun said. "Imagine if every child here got more than a book." He had spent the entire night making calls to Karan, to old clients, to startup friends, to anyone who owed him a favor. By noon, a small truck rolled into Daripura. Kids ran behind it, shouting. Men gathered curiously. What's happening? The back door opened. Inside were boxes, monitors, CPUs, keyboards, brand new chairs, 10 full computers. The villagers stared like they were looking at alien technology. Arjun's father whispered, "All this for the school?" "Yes," Arjun said. "With whose money?" Arjun smiled softly. "Ours." They cleaned an empty classroom, set up tables, connected wires. When the first screen lit up, the blue glow filled the room just like it had filled his house years ago. For a moment, he was 19 again, staring at his first machine, heart racing, life changing. But now there were 10 screens, 10 chances, 10 possible futures. The children crowded around. "Can we touch? What is this? Does it show movies?" Arjun laughed. "It shows your future, if you learn." That afternoon, he taught the first class himself. How to hold a mouse, how to type, how to open a browser. Simple things. But he knew simple things could change everything because they had changed everything for him. Weeks turned into months. He hired 2 trainers from the city, started free evening classes, then online workshops, then scholarships. He named it the Anywhere program because of one sentence he had heard years ago. You can work from anywhere. Students from nearby villages started coming too, then more, then dozens, then hundreds. Some learned design, some coding, some freelancing. The first time one of the students earned money online, they ran to him yelling, "Sir, I got paid." Arjun nearly cried. It felt better than his own first payment, better than promotions, better than becoming a millionaire. Because this wasn't success, this was multiplication. Years later, people would call him many things: entrepreneur, investor, millionaire, founder. But the title he loved most was the simplest: Sir. The kids never knew how much that word meant to him. One evening, after class, Arjun climbed onto the same old roof of his house and lay back staring at the stars. The sky hadn't changed, still wide, still endless. But now, when he looked at it, he didn't feel small. He felt grateful, because the boy who once counted coins for 1 hour of internet had built a life bigger than he ever imagined. And more importantly, he had built a ladder for others to climb, not out of the village, but beyond limits. And as the night breeze passed softly over Daripura, Arjun smiled to himself. Success, he finally understood, wasn't about how high you rise. It's about how many hands you pull up with you. The end.